Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Yeah, stuff was moving around. I saw Ace Frehley. I got
New
Slimer.
new intro.
Good job,
Well,
Lonnie. Yeah, it's good. I liked it.
for the people watching, the people listening didn't get the new intro
No,
outside
they
of that little
didn't.
bit at the end.
There's Ace Frehley in there, and he's to my other side there. But in the video, in the intro, and Slimer, and he came in, and he was moving around, and
Right.
there was stuff. It was cool. Right on. How's it going, dude?
Dude, it is Monday night,
Yeah, I know.
and we were hanging out, and I am continuing to cause a ruckus on the internet. Can't wait. It's going to be a great week for me so far. Anybody watching this show on my Facebook page who's been weighing in all week on my show that's happening in a couple of days, this is not that show, okay? This show
This is a different show. This is where we get
is
shut
a
down by
different
different
show.
countries
That's right. We get shut down by countries on this show.
whenever we
and
talk about wrestling.
big corporations. So that's what happens there.
If I mention
Uh,
anything about the WWE in a sentence, we will get shut down.
It seems to be a thing.
It's what
Ted,
happens.
our guest, Ted, has lost power,
Oh, Ted.
which I thought was going to happen here because we were in the middle of some kind of typhoon, monsoon thingy. I'm sure the internet people will correct me as to what the hell is going on out here, but there's a major weather pattern and the whole province is flooding and people are stuck and they're flying helicopters in to get them. And it's pretty crazy. So
Is it really that bad? Are you
it is really that bad. It's
Was it really
literally,
that bad? Okay,
no, it's literally,
I'm laughing over here, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't laughing at somebody who's on the roof somewhere in distress. Actually,
well, it's not, I mean, we're on the high ground, but I just
Yes.
went and took my little guy to swimming. And then I went into this little town out here called Fort Langley. And on the way out to Fort Langley, there was a substantial amount of rain happening. And it was like, wow, that was pretty crazy. And then all this flooding and all the rest of it. Now, I didn't get a chance to get that far ahead on my planning here when it came to showing this off. So I'll do the old school style but that's somebody's house there.
there you go.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So
That's-
I don't know
I
how
got to point out that it was funny that you said you're dropping Alex, your son, off to go swimming as it's flooding. That's kind of
that's not lost on me.
kinda
Actually,
funny.
I dropped him. This is where I dropped him.
I was going to
It's
say,
right
you just
here.
dropped him off up the
I
road.
just dropped him off
Here you
right
go,
there.
kid. Take your towel. Get
Let's see what you got there. Get out
swimsuit
there,
on, buddy. What are you
and just
working with?
go.
Let it rip.
That's right. Everybody watching at home and all the Twitters and the things, thank you for joining us. We're gonna have Ted from Death Angel on in a minute.
Oh,
As soon as
he can get through? He's okay?
Well, as soon as he gets on the internet, we'll get him on.
Right
I
on.
don't know what's going on with the internet down in his neck of the woods, but it's not working very well. He's telling me.
We're good here in Kingston, Ontario. We got some snow last night, stuck around a little bit today, but it's all right. Just makes it kind of more. I work at home, and mostly I'm behind a drawing table for the most part. If not, there's I have somebody I'm teaching around me, either online or in front of me, and it's kind of cozy when you look outside and that snow's out there, and you're just you got your coffee and doing your work, being at home. I like it.
I'll take not the snow. It's been at least 12 degrees here today, and it is, even though we are in some kind of hurricane scenario, it's warm. So everything's better when it's warm, even
That's
if
true.
even if there's a major weather pattern, except for the people stuck on the highway. There's been like mudslides. It's pretty crazy, but again, global warming doesn't exist, right? So there we go.
That summer we just had. It's funny because the summer that we just had was like a summer in Florida. Hi, Lonnie. The summer we just had because it was so dry, right? And then all of a sudden you'd get this rain, and it wouldn't be a lot of rain, but there'd be a little bit of rain, and it was just so like the intense heat. It was great, and I can remember mentioning it to a neighbor who I knew was very, very conservative, and I said I was just shooting the breeze with him, right? Like, hey, nice day, nice weather, and I just happened to slip out. Yeah, this reminds me in Florida. The weather that used to be like in Florida, you see in Florida, and he's like, oh. Is it? And then it kind of clued to me. It's like, oh, he's kind of offended by that. You know what I mean? Because I'm inching towards global warming, whatever, which I was just making conversation with the guy.
Everybody's offended by every.
Well, I know, right? But
he's
a bit. I could tell because I know when you hear people, sometimes neighbors get a little comfortable. You start to hear their opinions on things, and that's a good. If you had a few beers, my friends, just be careful how loud you are around your neighbors. We can hear you.
Does he have a red hat?
Does he have a red? No, this guy doesn't wear a
red hat. Does this keep Canada great again?
No, not that. I don't know if it's that far left or right or whatever that is, but
I'm assuming Dangerous Dorothy and Gracious Gary are watching. Dorothy, hope you're feeling better this week. Last week, I know you weren't feeling very good, but
her
hope you're
knee was a
feeling
little
good.
out. Yeah, you know what we did do is we took them to a little flea market out in the Gananoque there.
Look at you with the big words.
Yeah.
The Gananoque.
I got it. Yeah,
tough word. That's a tough word.
It is, dude. I'm getting better here. I'm getting my now that I'm writing. I'm an actual writer, a published writer, self-published.
This guy.
Published writer. Right. I gotta spread my words around a little bit. Yeah. So we went to a flea market, and then after that we went to Boston Pizza. I got some tacos. It's a good day. So she's feeling a little better. Her knee's getting better. But I think she was taking some medication that was making her just feel off totally. So I've got her on some new CBD oil that's helping her as well. It's a little stronger. So we'll see how that works. So she's out on the balcony feeding pigeons and stuff. With bread, we'll know.
Dorothy, rest up.
All right.
All right. Now, while we wait for Ted, your Leafs, my Leafs, and the Canucks, which are terrible. We're going to get into Nerds on Ice for a minute. Let's break down what the hell's going on here. So.
Yeah. And Tavares is playing well, huh? Tavares, whoever you want to.
Yeah, the Tavares. You called him a couple weeks ago to
be the point getter for the Leafs this year.
Be the point guy.
And they're getting Kadri back at the trade deadline. I have not forgotten my bold predictions. Like if you're going to predict that Austin Matthews scores the most goals for the Leafs this year, come on, that's not stepping out there, right? I've made two pretty bold. Those are pretty bold predictions for a pop culture show anyway, right, Brent?
I think so. Yeah. But I think we're right. Mind you, my Colorado. What did I say? Colorado Islanders final or Colorado
Islanders
Florida?
Are really sucking the bag.
Did I say Colorado? Year, I say Colorado Islanders or Colorado Florida. Damn it! I have to go back into the archives.
Well,
but
if you said Florida, you might be on it. Yeah,
I think I had Islanders. I think I had Islanders Avalanche final. I believe is what I had in my predictions. And well,
Florida's playing really well.
You know who's not playing well?
Avalanche.
The Vancouver Canucks.
Oh, the Canucks. No, dude. Your Canucks are
19 goals in 3 games.
Wow. Well, that's how many they've had scored on them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So many goals scored against them that people don't understand. Don't forget how many goals they scored.
Right.
Which isn't very many.
So, who do they have in net right now?
They got Demko. And they got Roman Halak. Or Jan Halak, sorry.
Oh, Halak. I don't know what Halak is.
Yeah, but it's not either one of their faults, honestly. All 7 goals are just a breakdown. Honestly, they've been playing. The goalies have actually, well, I know it sounds weird with 19 goals saying the goalies need to play better, but I don't know, man. They've been standing on their head already. So just a bad team. And they've been dropped down to 10% chance to make the playoffs. So that's it for that.
Yeah, I don't know much. I don't see too many great players on them. I don't see Vancouver play a lot because of the television system right now. Or actually, and funny because last year I didn't really have the sports channel, so I would have seen probably a ton of Vancouver because it was all Canadian hockey, but I didn't see too much of that. Their buddies, the Flames, are doing really well though. They got a good team, and that's the coach, man. You get one of those old school Sutter coaches in there, man. Watch out! That guy's just got to stare at you the wrong way, and you're like, "Oh, sorry, dude. Sorry. I'll do better."
I know, but old school. I mean, there's no old school coaches left. Like they've all been Me Too'd.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure. I'm sure he's not offending anybody, but he's just a no shit coach. Here's how you play hockey, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's time. We got a guest.
Oh, cool.
I see him in the waiting room. He's hanging out there. He had some internet stuff. About to release a brand new record, which we're going to talk about as well.
A live album?
We'll have to ask him. But we got a brand new called The Bastard Tracks. Look at that.
There it is.
Coming out and going on a big giant tour with 3 of your favorite bands. 3 of your favorite bands are on one tour.
I grew up.
This has never happened to you.
Area thrash stuff, man. That's what I grew up listening.
This has never happened to you. But he's here to say hello. Welcome, Ted from Death Angel. How are you, sir?
Hey, Ted.
Good. How are you guys? Sorry about that. It's funny. I was trying to sort things out and I unplugged my router.
All good, buddy.
Man, freaking out. Yeah, but I'm here. How are you guys?
We're doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Could be worse.
Mm-hmm. You're just beneath me, right? You're in the Bay Area, but we're we're under like a massive, it's terrible up here right now. Trees.
In Canada?
Right now in Vancouver, like where I am, it's just that whole Pacific coast, maybe all the way, maybe it stops at you, but I'm telling you, it's anarchy up here right now. There's floods, it's madness, it's crazy. And it's all happened in the last 24 hours. So,
wow. I mean, we did have that big, what they call it on the news, atmospheric river that came through, a big
Right.
one. It really drenched, like we had like, California, man, when you say, it rains, people freak out and it's a shower. But you guys in the East Coast probably have it pretty bad in Vancouver up north. I guess it's like from like the border of California and Oregon and up. That's when you guys get most of the crazy rain.
It gets a little ugly up here, but I'll tell you, I was saying to Chris earlier, like I was saying to Chris earlier, like no matter how bad it gets, it's still 12 degrees here, which is warm, in Canadian, in the whatever.
I'm over I'm near Toronto. I'm in Kingston myself, so I've just got we just had a touch of snow last night, but other than that, it's just cold and normal Canadian weather where I'm at in Kingston.
Gotcha. We love Canada, man. We have great shows in Canada.
Nice.
Vancouver at the Rickshaw, Toronto. Last time we played Toronto, correct me if I'm Lee's Palace.
Yeah, Lee's Palace, buddy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
and we
it.
played like the Opera House
Nice.
and whatnot. And
Opera House is a great room.
Yeah, when you get to Montreal, you have like 3 venues in like kitty corner. Was it Metropolis, Fufun, and Club Soda? Look at that. I know my venues.
You do, buddy. Montreal's got a good thrash scene. Montreal does
Yeah.
have a good thrash scene.
Yeah.
But we love you here in Canada, dude. We got some fan questions for you. And I myself, I've been listening to Death Angel since the Ultraviolence. Excuse me. I've been around. I grew up listening to the Bay Area thrash, Testament, Exodus, Death Angel. I remember seeing, I think it was Nuclear Assault, Testament, and Slayer at
wow.
Yeah, at the concert hall in Toronto way back in the 80s, and that was such a great show. There was not a wasted moment on that whole night. It was just fantastic. It was great. I grew up listening to your music, buddy.
It's funny, like I'm glad I lived those times, but it's never happening again.
No, right?
Right.
That scene was so strong, dude, and it changed the scene of metal, like big time.
It did. I mean, in the 80s, from the 80s, I could tell you from a fan standpoint, because I was in the crowd, it was just a scene that was so new and so fresh, and just the vibe there, what I mean? It was incredible. People seem to dig the Bay Area scene, but the Bay Area people seem to dig like the UK scene, the German scene, and it was just this shared love of metal from different continents. It's a great time, but I'm glad I lived it, and it's never happening again.
Ted, you went from being a fan into a band, which doesn't happen very often. A lot of bands, you hear about it occasionally. I know with Alice in Chains, they found William, I think, through another band that was playing, and they were doing a bunch of Alice in Chains stuff. And I think like that was like the perfect fit. What's that like for you? And Newstead, I think Newstead was a fan of Metallica and then joined. So what was that? What was that like for you as a fan? And then how do you get that call to come and try out and then ultimately make the band?
Mm-hmm.
You want the long story or the short story?
We've got 3 hours, Ted.
We got lots of time.
That's all good. You just take your time. However you want to tell it. Go ahead.
All right, man. I've been a fan since the demo, Killers 1 demo, the demo that Kirk Hammett produced that got him signed to Enigma. And the first time I saw Death Angel, I mean, I've heard about him, of course, the Bay Area scene, it's pretty small but known. You hear about, this is pre-internet. A lot of it was word of mouth. I had friends who were into that scene before I got into it. Word, gets out. Oh, you ever heard this band Violence? You ever heard this band Legacy and all that? Mm-hmm. And of course, you hear this band Death Angel. They're like super young, and and like me and the drummer shared the same age. So that was really fascinating. And what kind of really hit home is, of course, they're Filipino. I'm Filipino, so that made me kind of like, I got to check this out. I heard the demo. I thought the demo was crushing. Then I bought the Ultraviolence, and I was like, whoa, man, this is very intense for a bunch of, teenagers and whatnot.
They were so young, right? Yeah.
They were young. I think Andy was like 14 when he recorded, 13 or 14.
Crazy.
And the first time I saw Death Angel was July of '87. It was at the Stone in San Francisco. It was Death Angel, on the Ultraviolence, record release show. Yeah. It was Violence on their Demo 86 show. They didn't even have an album out. And there was this band from Fresno, California called The Trail. So I went to go see that show, and, been a fan since. I've saw them on all tours. Saw them on Ultraviolence. I saw them on Frolic. I saw them twice on the Act 3 tour. Then, of course, they broke up. Then I got to know them really well when they formed the organization, which was 4 out of the 5 guys in the band. Mark went to New York to, He quit music and went to New York, lived a different life, and the four guys formed the organization, and that's when I kind of get to know them. And I've known them since throughout the years. Just seeing them at shows, seeing them at after parties and whatnot. And um, around like late '90s, early 2000s, Mark formed Swarm with Rob and Andy. It was a rock and roll band and hard rock band. And I was in a band at the time called Sift, which was kind of like we were like kind of like Neurosis and Alice in Chains, kind of like that new metal stuff, mixed. And both of our bands played the Bay Area circuit a lot. We separately and together. So, we got closer then. Then, of course, the infamous Thrash of the Titans show, the benefit for Chuck Billy.
Yeah.
He put that together, and I remember, seeing it unfold. One band at a time. You hear like Anthrax, Legacy, then all these Bay Area bands started to get together. Then all of a sudden, I heard Death Angel reformed for that show, and I remember Rob giving me a call. I was at work at the time. I used to be an IT guy at in women's handbags called. I used to work for a women's handbag company. Yeah, in the early 2000s, I was an IT dude rebuilding servers and getting people's laptops and PCs and Macs ready. And Rob gave me a call at work and goes, "Hey, dude, did Death Angel's getting back together and we're doing this Thrash of the Titans benefit?" And I actually told Rob, "Dude, I saw that. If you need any help lugging gear in or you need a guitar tech, I'm willing to help you out because I want to see the show." And he actually said, "Dude, we're going to ask you, I want to ask you if you want to jam with us because we got a hold of Gus, original guitar player, and he was living at the Philippines at the time." And Gus was not into it, but he gave his blessing. So, did that gig, and 20 years later, here I am now.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's been an amazing feeling.
You're out.
Yeah,
you got pressure.
Dude,
you got pressure. You got to play the parts, right? You got
to. Dude, hold on a minute. We only had 2 rehearsals.
Wow.
Really?
2 rehearsals. Put it this way, because I remember getting the call from Rob, and that night I went over to where they were rehearsing his band Swarm with Andy and Mark. We were going over the songs with that Rob was thinking of playing at the show. Then they left for 2 months. Swarm, because they went on tour with Jerry Cantrell. When Jerry Cantrell had his band with Degradation Trip, his album and whatnot, they did the U.S. for 2 months, and they came back.
It was a solo band, right?
Exactly. And jumping on that, I guess William Duvall's band Comes with the Fall. That's the band that he was in at the time. So Rob and Mark and Andy came back. We rehearsed 2 days, and boom, we did the show. And here we are, 20 years later.
Wow, kept it going.
I haven't officially gotten the, "Hey, you want to be in the band? You're in the band." It was just like we did one show, then all of a sudden, we're going to do another show in Holland. Or we're going to do this tour in Europe. Or we're going to write a record. And here we go. There's a story for you.
That's great, buddy. I love it. Well, congratulations on all that.
Thank you.
Dude, that's amazing, man.
Thanks, man. It's been a ride. It's been fun.
Do you get to take the Grammy credit then? You'd be like, "You guys were nominated before I joined the band."
Yeah.
Dude, it's a trip to find out that, we were nominated for a metal band. I mean, for a metal song. Who would have thought? I mean, there was bands that got nominated. I know Machine Head got nominated, Slayer won, Megadeth won, but we didn't think with this album Humanicide we were going to get nominated. We were just going on tour, just going about our business. Then we get the word. We got the word in Calgary at Dickens Pub.
Jeez. Wow. But that would have been, when was that? That would have been like before
2019.
Just before the shutdown then, right?
Yeah, 2019, because we went to the Grammys in 2020. Then we went to Europe with Testament and Exodus for the Bass Strikes Back for February into March. Then we came home, and right after we came home, it was the start of the pandemic.
Crazy. So it's new record time. Yeah. Ish.
Yes.
The Bastard Tracks.
Exactly.
I love that cassette. Look at that cassette right there.
The artwork's always great too. I love the album covers.
So, Chris, why don't you ask an art question, then we'll get into the music question on the Bastard
Tracks. I was going to say, I have a fan here, a viewer that would like to ask a question. Oh, there you go. Is that a cassette of it?
Cassette.
Hold on. Let me bring that up for you. Stand by. Look at that. For
Hold
those
on.
watching at home,
For
that's a
those,
cassette.
let, side A, side B, and
Wow.
let me just come on, man. It's been a while since people
Oh
have
yeah, look
Oh,
at
that
that.
seen
looks great.
cassettes.
Now, are they more expensive to produce now? I mean, that seems like a dumb question, but I am curious because you got to kind of search for these cassette makers, right?
I don't know since the label manufactures them, I wouldn't know, but it seems like it's weird. People are just selling cassettes. I don't know if they're just buying them to keep them or they're
Mhm.
actually playing them. I am not sure. You know what I mean? I guess it's a thing with metalheads or, maybe the hipsters or whatnot, but,
Yeah, it's you know what I think it is, Ted. Now I think it's a collecting thing. People are so passionate about what they're into these days that they
yeah.
want to be completists with it. You know what I mean? Like I got some Kiss collections here that it's like I got to make sure that I have the inserts on all the albums now from back in the day, the posters and the stickers that came with the Kiss album. So yeah, I think it's just when they're into you, man,
Yeah.
they want everything that you could put out, right?
Dude, it's a
So
trip.
yeah,
Speaking of
oh,
Kiss, I know
yeah.
somebody who buys Kiss stuff even if it's I got this because they misspelled something.
Oh
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
the miss.
Are
Yeah,
you that type of Kiss fan?
I'm not that far. I just need it all. I don't need the misprints and the odd stuff. I just got to have
Yeah.
all the basic stuff that when I was a kid,
Gotcha.
growing up listening.
Like, okay, I got the original pressing of vinyl, blah blah blah. It's like that's it. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
what you're saying.
yeah. But I like to have the posters with the albums, and
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to have like the sticker from Rock and Roll Over with that, and the little gun from Love Gun, that kind of stuff, right?
Right. Yeah. Okay. I get it. I get
Yeah,
it.
that's hard
But
to
you're
get.
not gonna buy multiples of certain things because it's misspelled or something new in there or
No,
whatnot or
probably
reissue.
not. Comic book wise, I might because I'm a real comic book head, man. You should see my collection; it's insane. But Kiss album wise, probably not. Probably not. No.
Before we get into the Bastard Tracks, you speak of comic books.
Yes.
I do a live stream called Alive and Streaming, and I interviewed this band called Bonded by Blood in L.A.
Okay. Yeah.
And the singer, he's a big comic book fan, and he happens to have the original #1 pressing of Spider-Man.
Oh my gosh! Wow. So that's the one with the Fantastic Four in there with Spider-Man.
I guess he has it. I'm like, dude, how did you get it? And I mean, I could be wrong if I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
His teacher gave it to him if he had good grades.
Whoa.
And now
I
he
would have
doesn't
been a
have
much
to. Now he
better
doesn't have to
student.
work again. He doesn't have to work
Yeah.
again, right?
I told him, hey, dude, don't tell me where you live.
Yeah.
Chris, what did you were talking? We did this the other day, a bit of a deep dive into Chris's collection, actually, on last week's show. What did you say Spider-Man #1 was worth?
Oh man,
That
it's
you
all
thought?
written down. I'm not good with numbers, man. I can't remember, but it just sold it broke a record. First it was the Action #1 Superman comics, but
Wow.
that sold on an auction for the most money. Oh, sorry, I'm
I
terrible with
thought you
numbers.
said something along the lines of, like, it wouldn't be like 4 million, right? It'd be like 400,000, or would it be like in the millions? Do you
Dude,
think?
I can't remember. Like
Yeah,
honestly, like numbers,
yeah.
I don't know.
I'll
But
have to
so
Google that.
Spider-Man is the biggest selling and biggest money making comic book now.
Wow.
It
He's
kicked
holding
Superman
on
in.
to it. I go, that's your retirement if the band doesn't make it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Yeah. My collection's pretty immense too. My daughter wants mine. So I promised it to her, but I've got like, X-Men number 5. I've got Daredevil #7, like some real,
Wow.
like 1960 books that are really, really awesome. And just for therapy, sometimes I just go and leaf through them. It's a lot. It's a lot of fun
That's
for me.
cool, man. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
So I got a fan here for you, Ted.
Sure.
So this is from Jeff Lamers, and he's in Woodstock, Ontario, Canada, not the other Woodstock where the big concert went down,
Okay.
in Woodstock, Ontario. And so Jeff, just to let you know, he's got all your music, but he also has it all on vinyl. And
Nice.
I've seen some of his collection online, man. It's immense. So, and he knows how long you've been in the band and everything. He's kind of given me info on you guys, which is hilarious. So Jeff Lamers out there, what big fan. He wants to know, obviously, if you have any Canadian dates coming on, and also he wants to know what is his most memorable moment in the band since he joined. So,
Wow, that's a good question. Let me answer the Canadian dates.
yeah,
None at the moment with
okay,
this whole situation that the whole world's in. We don't know about going in and out of Canada. We don't know what it's like at the
understandable.
moment. I mean, things could change from now until that tour happens in spring, April, and
Yeah,
May. Who knows? Some dates might be added. Canada might open up and go, come on in. Who knows? But as
yeah,
of now, no plans to get into Canada. We hope to get in there because we had We always have great shows in Canada, without a doubt. You know what I mean? And plus, my guys like poutine.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
we have a store here in Kingston that's just sells poutine. That's all they sell. It's
Beaver
pretty
Tails
intense.
out here in Vancouver.
Yeah. Vancouver, man. Getting to Vancouver, before I get to question number 2,
yeah.
Vancouver, man, the rickshaw, what is up with that neighborhood?
Well, that is the downtown east side, my friend, and that is The Walking Dead Live. If anyone wants to kind of come and check it out, that is basically, well, it's down by Tent City.
Right.
Interesting. So basically, we have a terrible homeless problem, which I'm assuming that you also have down where it's, people move to the west to go to base. Well, first people move to the west to be homeless and to be warm. If you're homeless, why not be homeless? Out here where it's warm. And so there's that, but there's also a really bad drug problem, as we all know, and that happens in every city, not just Vancouver, but it is very prominently bad here. However, we have a program in a place called Insight here where you can actually get a dose, which is a medically grade dose of methadone, I believe, that allow you to function throughout the day. But it's like any other kind of prescription drug or whatever. It's regulated by the doctors. So it's a massive, massive problem. And the rickshaw is right in the middle of it. So your load in and your load out. It's like the front. The thing is that group is pretty harmless. Like I know it would sound suspect unloading gear and think that it wouldn't be stolen and pawned, but I'm sure it happens. But any of my experiences at the rickshaw have been everyone's been pretty respectful, to the point where some of the people from that area will actually help load in.
Wow.
People, they'll just pay them and they'll help load them in, and that's all they want. But that's what's happening in that neck of the woods. And the rickshaw is basically the metal gig in town. So that's where everyone plays, and it kind of fits now, doesn't it? It kind of fits to be down in the dirty parts and all the rest of it. Metal doesn't do so well metal doesn't do so well in an Upper East Side apartment building complex.
It gives it vibe. There's vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's history. Yeah. So what was that question?
The other one was your most memorable moment since joining the band. So
wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
There's so many memorable moments.
I bet there would be, my friend.
But if I had to choose, I'll give some memorable moments, but the most memorable, I believe, is the journey. Mm-hmm. You get what I mean? Yeah. The journey from the start till now. I mean, looking back, I could give you highlights. Of course, Thrash of the Titans is one, my first gig with Death Angel. Then my first overseas gig with Death Angel was in July of 2002, was at the FNR in Eindhoven and the Dynamo Open Air in Holland. All the tours. I mean, there's so many. I mean, going to different countries, South America. We did Asia, Australia, Southeast Asia, Australia. We toured with Slayer. Yeah. So many, man. I mean,
I was gonna say, was there a band that you toured with and you opened for or shared the stage with, and you were like, okay, dude, musically, as far as my life's complete now. Like if I was to open for Kiss, I'd be like, whoa, okay, I could retire after that. Okay, I don't have to play any more shows now. Open for Kiss. Was there a band that you played with or shared the stage with or opened for that was like that for you?
Or
are you still looking for it?
Still looking. No, the one band would be Metallica.
You guys haven't played with Metallica?
We have. We did their 30th anniversary as a band. I mean, don't get me wrong; those were great, and I'll die happy. But I'd like to do a world tour with them.
Okay.
That would kind of like, okay, I'm done. You get what I mean? That's for me the cream of the crop.
Right.
So they had the big four before. They had the big four with all of them before. It would be interesting to actually, I think, a really fun tour on the Metallica side would be all the bands that the other guys were in, as well as produce. So you have like Exodus out there with basically Exodus out there, you guys out there, Suicidal out there, and it's kind of like the current state of Metallica, but it started with this, and these are the bands that got us there. I think that would be really cool to do too.
I think it'd be really cool. I mean, I've seen arguments about Big Four, Big Five, this and that. Just leave it at the Big Four. I get it. Those were the bands that were the most successful in the 80s, late 80s into the 90s. Leave it. All the other bands haven't reached that big of a success. That's why it's called the Big Four, because of numbers. I get it. But the metal elitists, if they want to get technical about it, there's other bands that deserve to be there. If it was another band, it'd be Exodus, I think, that would deserve to be sitting at the table with the Big Four. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? I'm not going to argue about music. You shouldn't argue about music.
I
You should
totally
enjoy
agree.
it. You
I
should
would I
enjoy
would
it.
rather listen and jam and have a beer with somebody than argue about it,
Yeah,
buddy. I cheers
yeah,
on that, my friend. Yeah.
yeah. Let's okay. If that what is that what you call it, Big Four? Cool. Why? Because of that? Cool. Whatever. Let's just enjoy it. You
Hmm.
know, there's in especially metal. I mean, metal is great. There's so many fans that are so open-minded. The unity is awesome in
Yeah.
metal. You know, you go to a show, everyone's slamming, pick each other up. You know, you got everyone from all around the world, especially at festivals, getting together, enjoying music.
Hmm.
But on the other side, sometimes it could be like pretty harsh on bands,
Right. Yeah.
right? You get what I'm saying? Like,
Totally.
oh man, I don't like that band because like, come on, man. You know, I used to be that way,
Hmm.
but now life's too short, man. Enjoy the bands for who they are now because they may not be around tomorrow.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
like you're a Kiss fan,
Hmm.
and everyone's Kiss this, Kiss that. You know what, dude? Yeah, dude, they should write another Love Gun. It's not that era no more,
No.
dude. You know, they're not that age. Enjoy them for who they are now. If you want to listen to Love Gun, put on the record.
Yeah, buddy. Yep.
If you want to listen to, that feeling of Kiss Alive 1 and 2, put on the record. You know what I mean? Then usually when people pass, musicians, they're going to be like, oh, this and that. Oh, man. That's why I enjoy all bands for who they are now. Enjoy
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Speaking of
them.
who you like, what guitar players influenced you when you were younger?
All the rhythm players.
Oh
I'm a
yeah, that's
rhythm guy.
interesting because usually people are
Rhythm
like, oh,
players.
like Ace Frehley, Eddie Van Halen, Yingwie, stuff like that.
You
So
know, I
if you could
did
expand on that, that'd be great.
all rhythm players. I had a older sibling who got me into music and whatnot, playing guitar. But I was always drawn to like, I mean, I do like the leads. I listen to leads. I would go, oh man, he's a great player, this and that. But rhythm's hard to play, man. And I have to tell you, the king of all rhythms, James Hetfield, for me.
Nice.
You know what I mean? I mean, that dude,
Yeah.
not only his precise rhythm playing, but him in general. I mean, his lyrics, his
Yeah.
riffs, the way he sings. I mean,
To
come
keep
on,
that
man.
chug going, just to keep that dun 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 dun, and while he's singing and like that's hard on the hands. People don't understand that.
It is hard, but when you listen to like not only his right hand chugging, his guitar tone is massive. I love his guitar
Ah,
tone.
yeah.
He's the king of crunch to me.
Hmm.
But when you listen to what he sings, his lyrics and his phrasing,
Hmm.
no thrash band could get that good.
Right.
Like for example, Master of Puppets I think is the best metal album of all time
I
to me.
agree.
To
I
me.
I agree,
You know what I
Ted.
mean?
Totally, totally.
Yeah, and listen to the phrasing and the lyrics, how it's, he puts time into writing his lyrics where all nothing against all other albums. I love them. Rain and Blood is awesome, but it's pretty intense.
Yes.
Peace Cells is good, but it's intense. But something about James,
Hmm.
his timbre, the way his lyric writing, the way he approaches things, he's just heavy metal superhero, man.
Yeah.
You know what,
Do you
Ted?
remember when
Heavy metal.
Master Puppets came out?
Yes, 1986. I saw that tour. They came to San Francisco with Ozzy on the Ultimate Sin tour.
Oh, that would have been the Ultimate Sin tour. I loved that album, Ultimate Sin.
It's their. I I have to go back and listen to it, but I think it's everyone has their um in metal we always say Cold Lake, Celtic Frost, Cold Lake. But
Mhm.
I guess in rock, just so you guys can understand, everyone has their Theater of Pain album.
Right. Yes, yes, Theater of Pain. Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Right? Everyone has their Theater of Pain
Yeah.
record. So I think Ultimate Sin is that. But
Yes.
but
Super
Ozzy was
glam.
huge on that.
Theater
I love
Pain.
glam metal too.
Yeah. But that
I
was like
think
that era when I remember when Master Puppets come out and it was so perfect. Like it was
it
just
was.
it's Disposable Heroes is one of my all-time favorite metal songs of all time. And it's when I tell people that they're kind of Disposable Heroes really, and they're kind of throwing not Master Puppets like, wow, love Master Puppets, like what a great
Yeah.
song. I couldn't imagine singing and playing that whole song every night and then doing the rest of a Metallica set. You know what I mean? But just Disposable Heroes, man, something about the lyrics, the way the guitar is like a machine gun. I don't know, it's just I think that's the perfect metal song. And that album, man, there's not a wasted moment on that. And I think what the timing on that album, Ted, huh? When that came out, it was
Yeah.
just like, okay, boom, here you go. Here's your new playing field, right?
They were ahead of their time, especially when you listen to songs like when you listen to the song Orion.
Yes.
You know, with the
Christ.
classical Oh man, you know, we could go on and on, but yeah, that's to me that's the holy grail of metal.
I just
and
finished up
songwriting.
with Megadeth and Lamb of God and all those guys, as you know, Ted.
Yeah,
One of the things that I really noticed on this, because I was watching each individual player and all the rest of it, and you know, I'm not a guitar player; I'm a drummer in my past life. But Mustaine's rhythm
Oh, the way
playing,
oh yeah,
his rhythm playing, I was like, I really honed in on watching him play outside of watching him play solos, which is whatever. Like solos are solos and amazing. Anytime that you guys can pull one of these off, they're incredible to me. But watching him play rhythm and listen to it, it was perfect. It was really well mixed, and listening to it every night, actually being able to hear his rhythm play. It's, you know, and I don't think we're tracked for any. I think it was all live for the most part. But I'll tell you, that guy is a hell of a
yeah,
rhythm
man.
player.
He is, dude. His rhythm playing is like lead playing. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's very intricate. He does some really cool stuff, man. You know what I mean? It's total Megadeth. You know, when you think of Megadeth, it's Dave Mustaine. You know what I mean? I mean, look, he's had so many players come in and out of that band, but he's the one that writes the songs, and when you hear him play, you know it's Dave Mustaine. And it's really cool to know that with the older, when you hear, not older bands, but when you hear players, and you could automatically tell who it is. You know what I mean? They don't have to be flashy. They don't have to do like 1,000 notes per minute or all this flashy stuff, arpeggios and whatnot, but just certain bends and feels and the way they rhythmically pick and strum. I think that's awesome when you could tell who it is right off the bat of just, you know, the guitar tone and how they play. It's awesome. Same
And
thing
that's
with
not
drummers.
really happening anymore. It's not really happening anymore. No one knows who anybody is anymore.
It's,
And
you know, I was that's a good thing to bring up. I was talking about that with somebody. This day and age with technology, it's I think it's just from my view, it's a blessing and a curse. You know, with the Pro Tools, with the plugins, I could get technical with the Kempers and all that stuff. People go, I want to sound like that. I want to sound like that. Everything's on the grid, which is great. Nothing wrong with it. But, you know, all the earlier albums, I mean, we could sound old. Everyone wanted their own style. You know, I want to use that producer, but I want my sound. I don't want no one's sound. Everyone seems to want people's profiles or plugins, or I want the same drum tone as this guy. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it.
Right.
I remember I talked to Garth Richardson about this. He produced Rage's album and Chili's and stuff like that. And I remember asking him, he goes, bands used to, he goes, the problem is when you produce a hit record is that everyone comes in and they're like, we want to sound like this, or we want to sound like that. And some stuff is time stamped as far as what albums and records, because, you know, what they sound like, because, you know, Master of Puppets, that sort of like early 80s, late 70s, early 80s production was, I don't want to say the same, but you can definitely tell of the time. And then it was the next thing, and then it was the next thing, and it was the next thing. Now it's just such a process scenario that I kind of go, well, that snare doesn't sound any different than that snare. So now production used to be a big thing. Production was a thing that would, you know, kind of separate the record. Even if you had shit songs, if you had giant production, people would make their way through it. Now, everything's kind of sounding the same. So you got to have really good songs, or you're just falling into everything else. And that's what I've been noticing anyway. So
I totally hear you, man. Like, you know, back in 80s, even the 90s, when the band puts out an album, you could tell that it just sounds different, even guitar tones and drum tones, because I guess it depends on the song or the producer or whatnot and the vibe. But I like that. I like the change in sound per album, but the identity of the band is still there. That's what makes it unique. Nowadays, like you mentioned, Brett, like, yeah, that snare sounds the same. I guess it's just with technology. We got that snare. It sounds good. Cool. Move on. You know, cut and paste, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's just like now, back then, it was like a lot of push and pull. People were recording on tape. You couldn't cut and paste unless you were cutting tape. You know, so, you know, a lot has changed. You know, it's a blessing and a curse. You just got to roll with it and figure out what you want and what's best for you.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. What's your favorite Death Angel song to play live?
The Moth off the Evil Divide. Yeah.
Nice.
That one. It's just something about it. Just I just wanna jump in the crowd when I play, but I can't. I can't, but I like it. That one's my current favorite.
That's your favorite? I love it. Right on, right
You're
on.
gearing up to play some shows, right? So you guys haven't been out since the pandemic hit.
Yeah, we did a
You did
festival.
some shows. Okay.
We did a Aftershock festival. It's the Dan Wilmer presents.
Oh yeah, Danny Wimmer.
Yeah, Danny Wilmer. It was in Sacramento. It was our first show in front of a live audience since March 10th of 2020.
Wow.
That was the last time. It was in Brussels, Belgium. That was the last live show. Then we did Aftershock in Sacramento, which was October 6th. October 7th was the Aftershock gig. And our next show is November 27th with Testament and Exodus at the Fox Theater in Oakland, California.
Nice. Looking forward to that, I bet, huh?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, hometown gig with these guys, it's going to be fun.
Oh, the place will explode, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll explode. And it's like I don't know, 20 tickets shy of selling out.
Oh, yeah, it'll be sold.
So I bought some tickets for some friends.
Yeah.
Why not? You know what I mean? Why not?
That's going to be a good show. That's going to be a good show. I'm a fan of all those bands. That's great. I hopefully that things will turn around and that will come to Canada, because that would be, again, like me going back to the 80s when I was a kid and, going into getting dropped off in Toronto there and going to see the shows with like 3 solid bands that I loved.
Yeah, but 3 solid bands that keep putting out music, which is a big deal because Testament's last record was deadly. Mm-hmm. You guys' last record, you got Grammys, and you got a new one. Like you guys are all putting out. All these bands are putting out great stuff, and I love that, because some people, to your point earlier, Ted, about Kiss, it's like, does anyone want a new Kiss song? If it's really, 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 really good, people will be like, yes. But a lot of bands get away with putting out songs because of their name. So, and I don't mean that like, I'm not saying Kiss would do that or whatever, but some bands go, oh, here's the new song by us, and people go, it's great, I can't wait. It's like, is it great?
Well, I think Kiss stopped evolving, right, whereas bands like Death Angel and Testament are still evolving. You know what I mean? I think you guys, like, I think there's still room to take that thrash sound that came in the late 80s there and still go through with it and make it sound bigger and meaner. And that's what I'm finding from your new album. And also from Testament's new album, Ted. But I'm finding a lot of the older stuff I used to listen to from that thrash pocket, it's sounding big, and I like that. A lot of albums you hear nowadays, they're very small sounding, if that makes sense. But your albums have been huge, and I like that. Metal should punch in the head. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be this small little sound. It should be wide open, massive. And that's what I think a lot of thrash bands are doing today.
You know, I've been thinking about, that subject you just brought up, Brent, like, does Kiss really want a new album out, or does any band? How would I say this where it doesn't piss people off, or you'll get it? We're not in that tax bracket.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, it's a different situation. They're in a different platform than we do. We don't know what goes behind the scenes, where they go, you don't need to put out an album, go ahead, put out an album, or we don't know. It's big business, where for us, we're still like, we still have that lower tier compared to the big bands, so we still kind of have that hunger. You get what I mean? Like, we're still starting out type deal, but not. So, I mean, we're still, trying to claw our way and trying to fight our way to the mountain, where people are already at the mountain. So, I guess that sense of,
it's a great point,
right? And that sense of like, should we or shouldn't we? We're already here. They're kind of like comfortable, where we're still trying to climb Mount Everest and we're tired, but we still have the strength to do it, and the frustration's coming out in the music. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you're still full of piss and vinegar, and they're using piss and vinegar on their salad. So it's there's a big difference.
I mean, totally big difference, and I try to see it from a different perspective. Instead, when people go, why is your album why are you guys still heavy and fast, and you're evolving? Most bands don't. I mean, you got to look at it from a different view. If we were up on the mountain, maybe our albums may not be as brutal or something, because we could be comfortable, we could have, our lives could change, and who knows, when your lives change, maybe your music changed too.
Rock and
I
roll
can
is
see
supposed to
that.
be angry, right, friends? And you can't be angry if you've got a quarantine in a giant pool with, a 15,000 square foot mansion, and you can have food brought in and all the rest of it. Some of the best music ever is going to come out right now because everyone's barely surviving. They're
Yeah.
just getting by on food. Some bands, and I'm not talking about your band in particular, and whatever, you've been nominated for a Grammy, but this is perspective. You've been nominated for a Grammy. You were up again, in a Grammy, but you're still clawing and fighting your way through the situation to keep that career going and do the whole thing. And I think that's a perspective that people need to take into account here, that's the reality of the business a bit.
Yeah. I mean that, I was watching this Joe Rogan. I'm a big Joe Rogan fan, and I watch his podcast. And he had Snoop Dogg on, and he says it's show business. If you could understand both show and business, you'll be where you want to be.
I've always felt it's 95% business and 5% show. So you got to make the 5% really, really good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I guess it depends on who you talk to. As
Totally,
musicians, you know what I
totally.
mean? It depends on who you talk to. So it's a crazy time we're living in right now with this pandemic and
Mhm.
the landscape of the music changing. Because right now, I mean, of course, you guys remember vinyl, then to vinyl cassette, then the CD. CDs was huge. Now it's like the downloading,
Yeah.
then streaming is king right now. So having to go through all those processes, trying to pivot and change and adapt is it's hard to do. You know,
Mm-hmm.
really hard to
Um,
do.
Tell us about this, the Bastard Tracks.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Bastard Tracks. Yes, yes. I love talking about the Bastard Tracks. We did a stream, a broadcast back in June at the Great American Music Hall in San Francisco. And the reason why we did the Bastard Tracks is, last was it 2020, in December of 2020, we normally every December we always have an annual Christmas show in San Francisco. That's our thing, to end out the year, close it out in our hometown. We couldn't have one due to the pandemic, so we broadcast it, we streamed it. That went well. And come January of this year, we were in touch with our agents in Europe and in the States, and there was no kind of touring plans at that time. There was no touring in the foreseeable future. So we were sitting there going, what are we going to do, man? There's no touring. We could write, we could record, but we don't know when the world's going to open up, and we don't want to release an album and not be able to tour. So we decided to do another stream, and we decided, why don't we do something different? Why don't we play songs we haven't played in so long, songs that we never play, and songs that we never played at all? So that's what the Bastard Tracks is, songs that don't get enough attention, never get attention. And, some fans always, when we're on tour, why don't you play this song? Why don't you play that song? Well, we only have 45 minutes. And
Yeah,
we
it
got to
sounds like
play
the
that.
album's for the fans, Ted. That's awesome.
Pretty much. That's,
Yeah.
when, it was an idea that I brought up to the guys, and they were into it. I kind of, when I do things for Death Angel and come up with ideas for Death Angel, I kind of look at it from a fan's perspective because I'm a fan.
Right.
They're like, if I was in the crowd, if I was not in the band in Death Angel, I would love to see them play songs that they don't play. I want to hear it. Bastard Tracks, play it. And we brought in a film crew, Maximum Flavor out of San Francisco, who filmed it, and with the Bastard Tracks, it's an audio CD of the show and a Blu-ray. And we kind of went, we seen during this whole pandemic, a lot of people started doing streams. Trivium did one, Suicide Silence, I know Korn, a lot of people doing streams of just the show. With this one, we wanted to do something special. We did songs, like I said, we did songs we haven't played or hardly played, and we told stories about each song. Memories of the song, either what it meant to us, what the song's about, what happened, what happened in recording, just behind the scenes stories. So, when there's a couple of stories, I remember hearing those stories on the road. I go, you should tell that story if we're playing that song. So there's a backstory. So you kind of, when you hear the backstory, you kind of hear the song in a different way. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So we wanted to do that, kind of like a little storyteller's vibe.
Do you go into your CD collection or record collection and go, you know what, I'm going to listen to Death Angel today?
No.
The first album.
No.
No. Only
As a fan, you're like, put yourself back in there and be like, oh yeah, remember that song?
It's funny because when we play older songs from the 80s, it's so like autopilot playing them that sometimes I'm there like, oh, I remember when they played this at that show. It just runs through my head. You know what I mean?
Is there an old one that's one of your favorites to play, Ted?
I like playing Stop off Act 3.
Okay, yeah. Great album.
The second song off Act 3. Ultraviolence, I like playing Mistress of Pain.
Ooh.
And I'll Frolic Through the Park, Guilty of Innocence, which is about one of the bastard tracks on the new CD.
Nice.
Chris, we got some fan stuff there, and we'll let Ted get.
I did. I asked the fans questions there.
Great, awesome.
You gonna kick me out already?
No, not at all. I just worry of your time, buddy. We could probably talk for days and days and days on metal stuff.
I could go another half hour if you guys want me.
So I'm good. We're good for anything. One of the questions I wanted to have. Okay, so you already answered the Metallica thing then, with as far as Master of Puppets, but if you let me put you on a spot then. If you got a top 5, what's your top 5 metal go-to records then? In this particular case,
in no particular order, unless
no order, but just they're your 5.
Metal. Okay.
Let's go with metals to start. Then we'll get into classical.
I definitely go with Death Angels Act 3 is one of them. Master Puppets would be one. Death Angels Act 3. I think Slayer's Rain and Blood. Megadeth's Peace Cells. And dude, there's so many good albums.
Yeah, that's tough.
Exodus, Bonded by Blood.
Nice.
Some thrashy metal picks you got there, buddy.
Dude, I love metal, but that's thrash. But then again, metal encompasses everything. It's hard. I grew up thrash metal, but also I do like the Priests and the Maidens. But I'll tell you this: the Priests and the Maidens I grew up with, but it feels like those were my older brother's collections. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've heard of them through them, and I love them. Don't get me wrong. I've sat down and listened to it with his friends, and you hear it through everyone else. But Metallica and all them is something that I discovered myself through my connection, not through an older brother or older sibling and their friends. So I have more of a connection to that than to the Maidens and Priests and the Kisses and all that. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I did like them, and they were always in my life. But something about
so that's a good question. That's a good question. You discovered Metallica, Chris. Who did you discover?
Yeah,
all on my own.
Yeah, just like I had help with Iron Maiden, I had help with Ozzy, I had help with a few of those things from my older cousin, and then I discovered.
Well, here's the thing: I was born in Toronto, and then I'd moved around a lot in my life, and we were at this stage. I was in a small town called Ingersoll. And I was more the one that people were going to wonder what kind of music to listen to, because I had relatives in Toronto. I was always going to the city. If we're going to a concert, I was the guy who knew about the concert, and my dad would drive us there because he'd go visit his relatives or whatever, right? So I was more the go-to guy for a lot of this stuff. I was always the guy getting a Metal Edge magazine and looking ahead to see. I can remember going to see. Okay, well, Guns N' Roses, man. I can remember going to see Guns N' Roses open for Iron Maiden at the C&E Stadium, and Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction wasn't even released yet, and Guns N' Roses was almost booed off the stage. I can remember Axl Rose telling everybody, "Don't you like dancing? I'm going to dance up here for all you." And he's derogatory terms and stuff Axl would use back in the day. But I guess Guns N' Roses would be the big one that I discovered. But again, that's not really a big thing if you consider the situation, right? Like, I was pumped into Toronto, man. I knew what was going on there from relatives and just wanting to escape the small town. But that was wild though, seeing Guns N' Roses before the album come out and that whole scene hitting, because that changed a lot of things too. But Maiden was amazing, of course. I think that was the Somewhere in Time tour, maybe. I think
86, 88. Yeah, it would have been. I think so, right around there.
Yeah.
Well, Guns. What the Guns album was? What 80? There's debate that it was 86, and then the album itself, I think, shows 87, doesn't it, as the copyright on it? So it's a weird time.
I don't know.
86,
I know
87,
the album hadn't
right?
been released yet because we didn't even know any of the songs, and we went to see it. Yeah,
that's funny. You mentioned. I want to get to Pantera in a bit, Brent, but you mentioned Guns N' Roses. Our drummer Will Carroll went to see the Cult with Guns N' Roses opening, and he didn't
Right.
hear Guns N' Roses. He was a big Cult fan. He went into the show, bought a Cult shirt, saw Guns N' Roses open. As soon as he was done, he went and returned his Cult shirt for a Guns N' Roses shirt.
Wow. Yeah, how big was that when they came out and did that tour, right? It was like the label was even like, nah, don't worry about the album. Just put them on the stage, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's
Wild.
a different time where you could play songs when your album's not even out, and people dug it and radio played it, but no one was pirating it, except if you were on the radio and you hit record on your cassette tape to get it.
I used to
But
do
no
that all
one
the
was
time.
like, there was no way to share it. You know what I mean? Back then, now it's like the digital world. So
Yeah. There's no
So-
mystique about the songs anymore, unfortunately. But you're right, though. It's like, man, have you heard Guns N' Roses? Who?
yeah,
Where do I hear this? Well, you can't really hear it yet, but here's a clip that I found.
yeah, totally. Brent, you discovered Pantera. What year was that?
Well, it would have been on Vulgar. So it was
Okay.
after Cowboys from Hell. And it was interesting because, I joke with Chris all the time that I'm way younger, but not really. I'm 45. But I was late I had the older cousin who was into the Maidens and Ozzy and all that stuff. And I had a good friend of mine, Jason Parson, Jay from this little town. And we would walk around with a ghetto blaster blasting Ozzy and all these things. And then one time there was like a Pantera song, and I was like, "What's that?" And then we went to see Skid Row, Pantera,
Slave to the Grind tour.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
and Skid Row, Pantera, and the Killer Dwarfs in Peterborough, Ontario. And I just remember the Killer Dwarfs. It was funny because they were a big deal in Canada, and Russ used to ride around on a tricycle, and I got the trike at the end of the night. Somehow, I had that trike up until like 10 years ago or something. Before I moved here, I gave it away. But anyways, he used to ride this tricycle around on stage.
Dude. You should have sold it. You should.
I don't know where it went. Somebody's got it. And then I remember. So then Pantera comes out with a strobe light and a wall of amps, and I'm like, whoa! And they just annihilated the place. And this was before Phil was basically inaccessible to people because he would just walk around in a crowd afterwards. And I just remember it changing. Like literally, that was the moment that it completely changed for me for the most part. Metallica at Monsters of Rock. Check this out. Aerosmith, Metallica, the Black Crowes, and Warrant.
Mm-hmm.
That was the Monsters of Rock tour in 88 or 89.
Yeah.
And I remember going there. Forgive me, gentlemen. I remember going there as a Warrant and sort of like I was there for Aerosmith, Warrant. It was the Black Crowes' first show. And Metallica for me at the time was like, that was on the beginning of the Justice tour, basically. And I remember kind of being like, isn't this going to be too heavy? Because in Toronto, we only had Q107 and I didn't have access to Chris's friends. So it was like whatever was on Q107 is what you listened to. So Metallica, 50,000 people going, die. And I'm like, oh, they're here for them. They're not here for Aerosmith or Warrant. And that's where I kind of went, whoa. And so that kind of brought me into that really heavy stage. And then Pantera
just took it to the next level.
Took it to the next level. I never looked back after that Peterborough show. And if you, two things, if you listen, I read Sebastian Bach's book. I don't know if you've got it. He talks about taking them out and he likes to take a bit of credit for breaking them. And I got to give it to Skid Row. They definitely broke them in Canada anyways on that tour. But they just, in my opinion, they just destroy, they really had to make Skid Row go up in their performance because they were just destroying every night. And that's a hard act to follow. But backstage at that show, Chris, at that Monsters of Rock, you know who was there? Everyone was there.
Watching.
Everyone was there. Like Skid Row were there. Bon Jovi were there. Motley Crue were there. Everyone was in town.
They hadn't quite released Injustice, right? And they were playing a few tracks from it. Am I correct?
That's a good question. I believe it was out because I went the next day to Lindsay, Ontario to my cousin's place and demanded that he give me Justice.
Right. Because I saw a tour where they were just, and I remember hearing Harvester of Sorrow and it hadn't been released yet. And that boom, 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 boom. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is right. Still in their wheelhouse, right? Because you worry when you're a fan of a band and their next album comes out when they're popular. It's like, oh no, is it going to be all keyboard now in Metallica? What's going to happen? And then they played that live and it was great. So that would have been earlier, or the Metallica.
Yeah, that would have been probably 84, 85 because they would have gone after that. But Pantera for me was it. And then, Ted, I'm sure you've got a Pantera memory. You probably even either shared a stage with him or at the very least with Vinny with Hell Yeah or whatever when that moved on, or Damage Plan. I'm not sure. I'll show you this. So I snuck out to grab it. So this is the last picture of Dime in Vancouver.
Oh, I remember that. There you go, buddy.
Wow.
Okay, so he had just played with Damage Plan. I was in town on a tour. I was tour managing a band. I was in town on a tour, and my buddy Pete had called me. And let me just maximize that so the people at home can see that for a second because it's worth seeing. There we go.
Look how young you are there. What are you, 2?
I know. Look at that. I couldn't do this then. So he came out and was doing some stuff and signed a few things for people. And I wasn't much of a signing guy, but they're like, "Hey, do you want a picture with Dime?" And I was like, "Sure." And he comes off the bus. I got the picture with him. That was in May. And then everything bad happened in December, unfortunately. Right. And I had a chance to share that picture with Vinny down the road.
Nice.
It was kind of had made a moment for me with him, which was great. And then, of course, sadly, that happened to him. He tragically passed away as well. So I run deep with that band. That they've changed my world drastically.
I could see that. I mean, I remember them coming out the first time I saw them. I think it was in '90. Cowboys from Hell. They played a club in San Francisco with Suicidal Tendencies. It was them and Suicidal.
Jesus Christ!
And I thought it was great. I was like, cool. But as they got bigger, I mean, I liked them. I've seen them. They didn't hit me like they hit a lot of people, but I totally respect what they did and who they influenced and the people they touched, because during that time in the '90s, when metal was dead, they kept it alive.
Well, so Ted, and to the point of what we talked about earlier, though, is that sonically, I had never heard anything like it. Because all the 80s hair bands kind of had the same producers, right? Everyone wanted the same producers, which isn't too different than metal now. Everyone, there was that early 2000s or 96, 97, when everyone wanted Ross Robinson. And then it moved on to Rick Rubin for a bit, and then Corey then Churko. Like everyone's kind of has, they all want to work with certain producers. I found that like in the 80s, everyone, you'd be checking the liner notes and everyone was looking for the same, what producers. And sonically, I'd never heard anything like Vulgar Display of Power.
It was Terry Date, right? Terry Date.
It was Terry Date.
Yeah.
Cowboys from Hell is a little closer to what things sounded like. Like it's still produced, sort of has that sort of like late 80s, late 80s kind of sound to it. Mm. But then Vulgar Display came out, and I'm like, I've never heard anything like this. And then Far Beyond Driven came out, and I was like, I've never heard anything like this.
Those are great albums. Yeah.
Use My Third Arm on that record, Ted. Sounds like they're building a car.
Dude, yeah, I know what you mean. I've heard those albums. They're great sonically. You know what I mean? They're just, especially.
I've never heard anything like it.
Especially from one guitar player.
Oh, yeah.
One guitar player. Because a lot of metal bands, you're relying on that second guitar player to hold it down while the dude does leads. But Pantera was like, they went for that Van Halen vibe, but on steroids. You get what I mean? But I mean, I'm not saying Phil the David Lee Roth, but you get what I'm saying. That 4-piece type deal. You know what? I mean, but you have to, I think when it came down to Vulgar and all that stuff, I think the drums had to be influenced by Justice. The Justice record, the clicky drums. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think the Justice started it, and Vinny took it and made it better.
You know who else did that too? Was Prong. Prong
was a great band.
Beg to Differ. Love that album.
Oh,
dude, we could go.
That was right around that area too, and everything was just.
Chris introduced me to Prong, and
I did introduce you to Prong. That's
their last album they put out like what 3-4 years ago is amazing.
Yeah, because they had the same artist guy. That Puss Face guy did their the same artist, the Metallica stuff.
Yeah.
That some of the stuff.
Prong should have been as big as Pantera and all them. I don't think they got the credit they deserve because they influenced a lot of bands. I think.
I remember being out with Korn last year. I was out with Korn and Alice in Chains when we were doing a run, and Korn was talking about going out in January or something. They were going to do a run. I think they did it with Breaking Benjamin and a couple of other things, and they were just joking around. We need a third. I'm like, I just yelled from down the hall. I'm like, Prong, and one of the guys was like, holy fuck, Prong! Yeah, we should have Prong. And it was like, yeah, because they just put a record out and they would have slayed that show. But yeah, it's funny.
Well, let me flip the script here if you don't mind. Brent, You work for Live Nation. What do you do?
Me, I basically am a promoter rep for them on a grander scale than you would have locally. I'm a tour director. I basically put tours together. Well, sorry, let me go backwards. The tour has been booked. then
Yeah.
they basically, in essence, hand it to me to connect with the production manager, tour manager, everybody, all the venues, all the local reps to get it across wherever we're going. And then I handle all the
Wow.
ticketing, accounting out there. Plus, I'm the go-to on any kind of, how do I explain it? If it makes it to my desk, it's a problem. Right. So
Gotcha.
there's 5 levels of things that got to go wrong. And then they come to my desk. If they come to my desk, then I got to go and solve it. So it's usually, we're having like weather and cancellations and things like that,
Yeah.
or sick band member, or can't like that. When it gets to me, that becomes more my wheelhouse. All my work is preliminarily leading into a tour, which is bringing everything together, all the moving parts together to make sure it goes. And then once we're on tour, if I've done my job properly, it's hopefully flowing nice. If you've got a good production manager, it's in a nice little zone. So
With lots of coffee, huh?
Brennan's the coffee guy, man.
Lots
You
of
nailed
coffee,
him there.
Ted. Holy
You know what?
shit.
I'll tell you this because I'm always fascinated by the behind the scenes stuff in my band. I'm always hanging out with the tour managers. I'm always hanging out with the crew. I'm the one that gets up early. I'll go in with the tour manager. I like to hang out with the crew. What's going on here? What time did you load in? Is there a problem? They go up. When there's problems, I like to know what problem happened. You know what I mean? I sit with the tour manager, like, okay, I got to deal with the promoter. I'll sit there and how they interact, what's going on.
Yeah.
Production. I love the behind the scenes stuff. I'm always fascinated by it. I love talking to promoters. I love talking to booking agents, manager. I just like to soak up all that knowledge.
That's how it started. Chris and I were in a band together for years, and it was kind of like someone had to drive the van. I was the non-drinker for the most part, and book some shows. And
Yeah,
that
you were the
kinda
straight
turned-
edge guy in the band.
That kind of took me into that world. And then
Good.
as I got further down there, and as my drumming playing dwindled, and my not my curiosity of the behind the scenes side of it raised, that's when I made the switch to this world.
Is that something you would like to do, Ted, in the future?
I do. I'd like to, one of these days, soak up as much knowledge as I can, and I wanna get into managing bands. But if it's gonna be managing bands, it's got to be a band I'm really into. Like I have to be a fan. You know what I mean? I just don't want to do it to go, well, it's a paycheck. You'll get
Right.
10% here. I want to be into it. I want to, just learning a lot. Like I like to get down and go, you know what, man? How about we do this? How about we, I want to get involved with the routing. I want to get involved with the marketing, the tours. Like, okay, you want a bus, you want a van, you could come home with this money if you want to go in a van, or you could come home with that much money if you want to go with a bus, but you'll be comfortable. All the plan A, plan B, plan C. Okay, what kind of crew do you need? You know what I mean? What are you looking for? I love that stuff. I do it for our band all the time.
Nice.
I do it.
Well, I was going to
That's
say,
why
how involved are you in the side of it with your act management and stuff? Where they're like, oh, there's Ted on the phone again, calling us about routing.
Very involved. You know what I mean? Like,
are you self-managed though, or are you guys a part of a bigger management company?
Self-managed, but I handle the bulk of it.
Really?
I deal with the booking agents, the label.
That's interesting.
I get all the crew to come in. Yeah, I mean, I deal with accounting. And
you know what? You need that 20%, Ted. You guys need that. You need but I'm saying that 20% is the difference between your band touring and not touring.
Yeah, but then again, I do. There's pros and cons. Excuse me, that's my dog, but who cares? Sometimes you need that management to get you to the next level because you could only do so much. You get what I mean? But if there was a manager, I'd like to be hands-on with the manager. Like, I need to be copied on all the emails that you sent. I want to know what is going on. You know what I mean? Yeah, the way I see it with the way the landscape is now, those days of big managers over, like, let us take care of it, just go out and play. I think it's a partnership. Same with the label. You know what I mean? You got to get, it's your band. You got to come up with a plan of how you want your band. Tell these people, and managers shouldn't get you to a place where you want to go. They have to help you get there. There's a difference. You get what I mean? The manager shouldn't just go, I'll get you there. No. I don't want you to get me there. I want you to help me get me there because I want to learn what goes on. Because if a manager just decides to okay, dude, I'm done with you. And he dealt with everything and you don't know nothing. You're going to be all starting from zero. I need to be
Yeah.
involved in every step of the way. That's just how I run.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny,
Yeah.
Chris and I, we slogged and slogged and slogged. And I'll tell you, there's two things right now. It's never been easier to break and it's never been harder to break. It's never,
What, right now?
well, it's never been easier to break with what you have access to with booking your own tours and the
Oh,
internet
right.
and all these things and getting your stuff out there. So it's never been easier to break, but it's also never been harder to break
That's
because
true.
they're both happening at the same time.
Exactly.
Because you've got you're talking about tax returns, Ted, and like why band, like, you know, that's managing life and careers and money at that KISS level and all the rest of it. It's not even a thing anymore. It's an enterprise. But you guys are managing, you know, you guys have to micromanage every single expense, which, you know, and Brian from Tesla told me, I talked to Brian from Tesla on my show, on my other show that I have a little while ago. And he was like, if I don't manage us, I don't think we make it.
Mm.
Yeah. I
Because
mean,
they got
I
to
get it.
They got to kick it up.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, there's some people, it's very hard to find someone who could help you out and be loyal. You get what I mean?
Mm.
And be honest. I guess what Q Prime is a good one.
Yeah.
Who manages Iron Maiden's a good one. I forgot his name. You know, all those people, it's hard to find, but you still have to be involved. I mean, when you get to that level, you could let go of a few things. I mean, I never been at that level, but I'm pretty sure you could let go of a few things, but you're still involved in a way. You get what I mean? You can't, it's a bit with touring too, it's like anyone could fuck you, promoters could fuck you, anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to watch out. That's all. I just want to be cool and be fair. What's fair for the band? I'm not asking for, I've seen some bands go, I'm so and so, I need a bottle of this. Nah, man, just, we'll get a bottle now and, don't worry about whatever.
Yeah, that's tough. I think it would be tough to find somebody who you could not only trust, but somebody who also knows what they're doing, right? I could see finding one or the other, but finding both, you got to look inside your inner circle, I guess, right, Ted?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, but it's a good learning experience, and maybe one day I'd like to take that knowledge and just run with it with a band and see what happens. And the more I talk to people, I love picking people's brains. I always like asking questions, and maybe one day I'm gonna sit down with Brent face to face. So how did that tour go? What did you do? I
Man,
want
you
to know
call
what
me
the hell.
anytime, dude. You know that. We got
Yeah,
like
you
we
text
got
me
time.
anytime, call me anytime. It's all good.
Yeah, like
buddy. It's
what
no problem.
happened, because I'm always curious, like, didn't you get bands with hierarchy? Well, I don't want them to have enough room on stage, and you get those little logistics and those little things. I'm like, why?
I don't
Why does it work
charge. I
that
don't
way?
charge for my time. The only thing I ask is that you let Chris design your next album cover.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
He is a published comic book artist. By
I'm
the way.
a published comic. That's what I do now, Ted. Is I'm a published
Wow.
comic artist.
Really?
Yeah, there it is. One of my books there.
Wow.
That's more of the
Wow.
cartoony style, but I do all comic. Yeah.
Yeah, fun stuff.
You get it? Is it your own? Or you get it out in stores, or you get it in?
I sell it
anyone
all
pick-
online. It's in local stores here in Canada. I don't have anything in the States, but I've sold a ton online to the States. It's gone as far as Australia, as far as I've gotten my comic book there.
Wow,
Yeah, it's
dude.
going well. Ted, I love it. It's so much fun. I just, as you're saying, the passion into something, right? And that's my wife handles the whole business side of it, which you're mentioning, and I wouldn't be able to do this without her taking care of that. Like, sure, I do the drawing and I send it to her, and she formats it, sends it off to the printer. Gets all the payments through Etsy and through our internet payments, and I no idea what goes on other than I draw it and write it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
so
but see, you have a wife that takes care of it. Now, if it was someone else,
exactly,
you'd probably, hey man, what's going on here? Let me see the books or something. You get what I mean? But it's
exactly
life, the love of your life. The love of my wife. If she was taking care of all this stuff, I wouldn't question it. But every now and then I go, let me check it out.
Exactly. Yeah. And you don't feel bad doing that, right?
Yeah, I don't. It is. But I think everyone should pay attention. It's our livelihood.
Ted,
The
record is coming out on what,
Mhm.
November the 26th. Is that what I saw?
Yep, November the 26th, Black Friday in the United States.
Awesome.
The Bastard Tracks,
Yes,
which is rad.
Such
you
a
can
great
catch
idea.
Testament, Exodus, and Death Angel on tour. Chris's dream tour, really.
Yeah, that's not a wasted moment.
If you could add two bands to that, Chris, what else would it be?
Well, I'd like to see Nuclear Assault in there.
Wow.
And I would like to see Prong. I throw those two bands in there, man. And I'm like that. Well, let's put it this way: like 20-year-old, 18-year-old Chris would be just like falling over. That's like, man.
I think he'd also add Armored Saint in there too, likely.
Oh, dude, the new Armored Saint, their latest record is amazing, dude. It's amazing, dude. Speaking of that lineup, that tour did Europe in February, March 2020. We called it was the Bass Strikes Back tour. We called it the tour that ended all tours.
What? The bands that I just named?
No, the Testament, Exodus.
Oh, that one there. Oh, right. Yes.
Because when we got back from Europe on March 12th, the shutdown happened a couple of days after. And that tour, the tour that was right behind us, was Creator, Lamb of God, and Power Trip.
Oh, right on.
Right, and they had to cancel because we did 5 weeks, we had to cancel 2 shows because of COVID, and we came home. Boom, all the world shut down.
And then everybody shut down. Yeah,
everyone shut down. So but hey, we're alive. We're here talking to each other. It's a great thing. We just gotta pivot and figure out ways to stay connected, and that's why
keep making new music. That's how you connect everybody.
Connect, on the socials. We did the stream. We were fortunate enough to capture it on video, which is going to be on a Blu-ray, and we captured
I don't see
audio.
it on here. Is the Blu-ray part of that CD package there?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
It's a CD, Blu-ray,
very
cassette,
cool.
and vinyl. So we have something to release until we get a new record out. So this is for the interim.
Well, I appreciate you coming on with us today, buddy. That was really nice of you to make the time and come on a little show like this. But we're having a lot of fun doing these things.
Dude, I don't mind, dude. It's one of those things you make it go around. I have people on my stream. If people ask me to join their streams, it's like, why not, man? Let's have a conversation, dude. Let's have fun, dude. Let's talk music. Hopefully the next stream we could talk about coffee, dude. I'm a huge coffee.
Yeah, there you go.
You can come on my show for that one.
Yeah, dude. Because I'm
on my show for that one.
I'm more of a mocha guy. But I do love cappuccinos, espressos. And
I got I'm bugging Ray right now from Korn. I got Fitz from Slash's band. He's a good friend of mine, and he's been on the show a bunch. A big coffee head. Frank from Slash's band. All of Slash's band actually should just have their own roastery. But Ray, I got a bunch of guys coming on. We're going to talk touring and COVID and all the rest of it. So you're welcome to join that anytime, buddy.
It's right on, man. Right on. We're going to do that. Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Let's just confirm where we can find you online. Where if ever I got you here at your Instagram, correct?
That's correct.
Look at that. Modern technology.
Beautiful.
It's great.
It's right up there. Deathangel.us for the website.
Yep.
And at Deathangel on Twitter and some other places. And I got to tell you, thank you so much that you're doing some promotion for us on all your platforms. And we really, really appreciate it. So that's great. I love it when the bands help out.
Dude, we're all in this together. Is the way I look at it. You guys are doing something to promote bands, and it's, this, before we close out this whole pandemic thing, I try to look at a positive side of it. It sucked. Okay, the world shut down. We can't tour, but it got me to, reconnect at home more, stay at home, reconnect, with family and friends, and to think about a lot of things. Life's too short, man. Let's just have a good time. Let's help each other out in this whole scene, and let's all make each other successful in our own way and have a good time doing it. No drama. Save that for your mama, and let's drink some coffee, Brent.
Yes, I'm in. I'm all the way in. Yeah. That's Ted with Death Angel, our new friend. Thank you so much, man, and come back anytime. Ted. You're welcome back anytime. And,
all right,
we'll talk coffee next time.
Let's do it.
All right, hopefully, we'll see you in Canada here sooner than later, buddy.
Hopefully, some other than Lee's Palace will play the Opera House in Vancouver. We'll play. I don't care. We'll play the Rickshaw too.
We've got a local promoter friend in Kingston.
I'm in Kingston.
Okay.
And if you ever need any hookups here, I'm on the Live Music Council. So
okay,
we got big hall. We've had Elton John's played here. We've had Bob Dylan play here. Some bigger names. Skid Row's played here.
Nice. Great town.
Well, hopefully we could be on a Live Nation tour. Brent, wink.
There you go.
If I had any pull on that. I mean, I yelled prong down the hall. It didn't work. So they didn't. They went with something else. But hopefully we will connect out there somewhere, buddy, on the road one day.
We will. All right, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Cheers, Ted.
Take care. Well, that's a rad dude now, isn't it?
Oh, you're
Thanks, man.
super rad guy. You kidding me,
Thanks so
man?
much to him for coming on, man. That was great making the time. And just the guests just keep coming. This is great. We're having it's like 3 big weeks in a row. One mystery week, but
That's good. Yeah, and I think you got a new partner there for work.
yeah, there you go. Ted, call me anytime, buddy. Anytime.
The coffee and the business side of things, right? That was really, really cool. That's rad. No, because it's funny because usually the gentlemen on our show, and it's fine, are more of the woo, I got this toy over here, and I did this and I did that, and Ted's very he's got a good noggin on his shoulders there, man. Not that the other guests don't, but his coffee and business. It's funny because very much your approach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when we were all together, you were always the guy that drove, and me and Dent knew we could have those extra 12 beer and smoke whatever we wanted to, right? And be a little late hanging around. But it's always decent to talk to get that side of the guys in bands, because also another perceived notion is that everybody in bands is like, yo, dude, yeah, I don't know, I just show up, get my paycheck, write my riffs, Ted's
It's so
dude.
tough to make money right now. And the thing is, a band like Ted's, like, Death Angel are busy, but those bands got to play, 150 shows a year.
Yep. Well, you got to have, as Ted said, you need that guy on the inside.
It's strength in numbers, and you got to keep going. And, you look at, even we had Matt from Trivium on a couple weeks ago. They just opened for Metallica in Orlando. They got the call. So this is a band that has sold a ton of records, that is doing very well, that is doing, some serious business out there. I would deem them as successful. They bought an airplane hangar. They did the whole thing.
And came on our show.
But then they give a call. Can you open for Metallica? It probably paid them $500, right? But it's just like a funny kind of thing. Probably a little bit more, but you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it was one of those things where you just got, but to have, a band move ahead and still get excited about playing with bands, because that's the one thing that I was touching on earlier, but it's 95% business and 5% music. And people don't understand that equation. Even when you're making a record, it's business. So the music portion is when the music comes out and you're on stage. That's it. The rest of it is everything else. It's the machine. And a guy like Ted in Death Angel, who was a fan first, who's now in the band, can look at it from that perspective, but then help guide the ship. They've got to work really, really hard to maintain a career. And that's a Grammy nominated metal band. So that should show everybody that, it isn't all crystal and
well, so I was saying too,
party.
it's like to see somebody come in who's actually got the head on the shoulders is like, no, you know what, I was more interested, there's a lot of, I could have drank that tequila, but what I was more interested in is where the money's going. You know what I mean? And then the other guys in the band are like, yes.
How many bands and how many people have no clue.
Well, yeah. So, and we, as I say, like, we haven't really had anybody on that was into the business side. Like, that was interesting. It was good to see it. It's funny though, because he likes his coffee and he wants to run the rock shows. Brent, you got to definitely get that guy.
And it's
in
so
there,
funny because I'm on a forum. I every now and again I jump on a forum with these touring people, and there's all sorts of people, and this is very funny to me. So I get on there. I get asked to come on as a guest to speak about touring and maybe where the touring is going to go. And Ted's on there from Death Angel. And I'm like, okay. And then there was all these other people. And then the next time it was the singer from Queensryche, not Jeff Tate, but the new guy. And I was like, okay. And today I went on today for like about 30 minutes to talk about some COVID stuff and a few other things. And who's on there? Noel from Inertia in Toronto.
Oh, right.
That runs the venue downtown on Queen, across Queen and Spadina. We used to play there all the time with Caliber and Machete and anyways, Noel was like one of the promoters, and there he is on the call, and he's slugging it out trying to put shows together, but because he can't, because it's Toronto, he's still in it grinding it out. So there's more grinding people than there is rock stars.
Yeah.
Don't let the person on stage fool you. It's a grind.
It is.
It's a grind. So is banging out a podcast. The grind. This is the easy part. It's the rest of it. The 95% business and the 95% promotion. Every aspect of what we all do. You with the comic book. Well,
as I mentioned, Lonnie. Yeah.
You draw. You create. You guys together color. You do the whole thing, and then you got to promote the shit out of it.
Yeah. Twitter's really helping. And by the way, I'm almost at 1,000. So I'm almost there, man. So I'm doing my live videos. That's on not on Twitter. That's on TikTok. My TikTok is doing really well. Yes. You can find me
I'm at 1,100 on the old TikTok. I went live the other day for fun to try it out, cooking some food. And then I switched over to Insta. And it was funny because I had some TikTok people and they don't tell you how many are watching. So I'm kind of like, whatever. And then I pulled out and I was like, it had like 200 people watching. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if they were watching, but they had tuned in at some point. And so I said, okay, I'm going to go to Insta and this is my Insta and I'm going to go over there. So then all of a sudden I had like 10 people, 12 people add me on Insta and then they joined me on the Insta live.
Nice.
While I was just cooking like a pasta sauce and people were just hanging out. So yeah, it's funny. There's the beans.
People like the pasta. Yeah, well, I'm almost at 1,000, so I'm almost ready to go live myself. When I go live, I mentioned I'm going to film some of this that we're doing and some of my comic stuff that I'm drawing. This is Beans. This is Darth Beans.
That's the Beans.
Beans just followed me home when we first moved here when we had our dog. This is Beans. So be nice to animals. So he's a stray cat.
You follow Chris on TikTok and Facebook and all the things. Thank you for following us
on
all the things. Tell all your friends because we're doing this and having a good time. And it's Kids on the Escalator for another week on the Dean Blundell Network. Thank you to them and everybody over there. That is Chris Machete. Big thanks to our friend Ted from Death Angel. They are going on tour with Exodus and Testament, which is awesome, which is really cool. And we're also going to see a new record from them on the 26th called The Bastard Tracks.
Decent. That's for the fans, man. That is for the fans.
Decent. That's Kids on the Escalator. We're 3 minutes shy of 90 minutes, and we're doing that on purpose today. Good times.
Rad dudes.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week. All right.